Hello there, Lunar Squadron, and welcome back to the channel. We are now just roughly a week away from the rumored official release date and brand new trailer for Star Wars Jedi Survivor, set to drop reportedly at the Game Awards on December 8th. And because of this, all we can do here at the Lunar Squadron is just think about Jedi Survivor. All things Jedi Survivor and Cal Kestis. And while we were thinking about this game, there is one thing that we just cannot shake. Perhaps the biggest question, the biggest mystery surrounding Jedi Survivor, and that is, what happens to Cal Kestis in the Star Wars universe? Because, as we all know, he does not make any appearances in the original trilogy or thereafter in the sequel era. So, in this video, we are going to talk about what we believe to be the biggest question that Jedi Survivor must answer. That is the fate of Cal Kestis. But before we get into all of this, if you're new to the channel, we would love to have you as always. And the way to do that, just go down below this video, hit that little subscribe button and the bell notification right on next to it. It will notify you every single time that Andreas and I upload the latest and greatest Star Wars content. Without further ado, Andreas, are you ready to answer this gigantic question?
Let's do it.
All right, let's get right into it. All right, so Andreas, in 2019, we are introduced to Cal Kestis, and he quickly becomes a beloved character amongst Star Wars fans, probably a lot more surprising than we thought he was going to be. It was a very big shock as to how loved Cal Kestis was by Star Wars fans and just how great Jedi Fallen Order turned out to be. And now that we're going into Jedi Survivor, this takes place years after Fallen Order, but we need to know where Cal Kestis is at. We need to know what happens to Cal Kestis going into the original trilogy as we creep closer to said original trilogy. So this is perhaps the biggest question, the biggest mystery that Jedi Survivor has to answer, has to deal with in this game. Are they going to be able to do it? How are they going to be able to do it?
Yeah, I mean that's the $1,000,000 question here, and I don't think it's too much of a spoiler alert to say that Cal Kestis is nowhere to be found in Episode 4: A New Hope. Obviously, the main focal point of A New Hope is the Battle of Yavin itself. Right? So we know, just from looking at the timeline, what we've known about the first Jedi game, Jedi Fallen Order, that game took place 14 years before the Battle of Yavin. Now, this game takes place 5 years later, 9 years before the Battle of Yavin. So we exist in this space where Cal is sort of chilling just before A New Hope. This is right around the same time as the Star Wars Obi-Wan Kenobi show, obviously. I don't mean to spoil it if you guys haven't seen it, but Cal does not show up in that show, so he's nowhere to be found there. And then a little later, we have Andor and Rogue One. He's not in Andor, so far, I guess. He's not in Rogue One at all. So the question is, where the fuck is Cal? I don't know, Nick.
That is a great way to put that question, is, what exactly happens to Cal Kestis in the original trilogy era? What is his relationship with the rebellion? And I think this is a really important series of questions because Cal Kestis is a Jedi. This would be a very important key figure for the rebellion in their fight against the Empire. And it's clear that Cal Kestis is no friend of the Empire. He has had his run-ins with the Empire. He is running from them and from the Inquisitors in Fallen Order. He does not love the Empire. He is a Jedi at his heart. He believes in the values of the Jedi. And I just feel like this would be a very key asset to the rebellion. And now, obviously, the original trilogy comes out, 30 to 40 years before Jedi Fallen Order. So obviously this is not something that was planned for, so he couldn't be in the original trilogy, clearly. And this game came out after Rogue One. But like you said, he is not mentioned at all in Obi-Wan. Of course, that was his series, but Jedi Survivor does take place at the exact same time. And he is not in Rogue One again. That's before this game comes out. But I think it's important for this game and for this series to address what happens to Cal Kestis. Does he survive? Is he still alive? Is he off fighting somewhere else with the rebellion? Which would be really weird because it seems like what the original trilogy focused on would be the most important battles of the Empire era, Empire versus Rebellion era. And I just feel like Luke Skywalker could have used the assist, you know? I feel like Cal Kestis, if he was around, that would have been a really nice asset to have. Like, that's another Jedi. That would have been massive for the Rebellion to have. So I think it's imperative that this game addresses what exactly happens to him. Now, what exactly are some solutions, Andreas, for how we can deal with Cal Kestis? Because this has to be resolved some way. Now, obviously, they could just ignore it, but that would just, I don't know. They can't ignore it. He's becoming a very important character within Star Wars. He's another Jedi that survives Order 66. This is a big deal.
Yeah, I think to answer this question, the best thing to do, in my opinion, is to look at the way that Disney's Star Wars has addressed this problem recently. And since Disney's acquisition of Star Wars, their way of dealing with these, let's call them characters with big ideals, right? You know what? I'm going to talk about Saw Gerrera for a second. A character with big ideals, great intentions, wants to go spark a rebellion, right? How did Disney deal with Saw Gerrera so that, you know, we're not all asking, well, where's Saw Gerrera during Return of the Jedi? Where's Saw Gerrera during Empire Strikes Back? Why isn't he helping anybody? Well, we know how Disney addressed the Saw Gerrera problem. They whacked him. They killed him in Rogue One. He is no more by the end of that movie, so we don't have that plot hole. And so this is what I'm going to call the Saw Gerrera solution. This is the Jyn Erso solution, the Cassian Andor solution. It is the whacking Cal solution. That is the first thing that they can do, is kill off Cal Kestis by the end of this game. And this is really the obvious thing to do, like probably the I guess the dead giveaway, no pun intended. This is like the easiest solution. But then there's another solution that I think we've seen in the past, and this one might be a little more analogous to Cal Kestis because it is a lightsaber wielding Jedi of sorts. You know who I'm talking about, Nick. Who else has this problem?
Yeah, you're absolutely right. This is a problem that has now become developed with Ahsoka Tano. Is where the hell is Ahsoka Tano during the original trilogy? Again, this was put out 30 plus years ago. Like, that was not something George could have planned for back then. This is just the modern day Star Wars trying to shoehorn characters into an era instead of, you know, putting them in different eras. They're just trying to shoehorn them in and make them fit. And they really tried that with Ahsoka with Rebels. She was involved with Rebels. She was helping out the early rebellion, Fulcrum, and all of that stuff. But then she just, like, disappears in the original trilogy. And I have a feeling, given what we know about the upcoming Ahsoka series, that this will be addressed. I think that is perhaps one of the main points of this upcoming Ahsoka series, is to address what exactly happens to her. And I think they get an easy out with Ahsoka because they need to find Ezra, and Ezra has just disappeared into the ether by the end of Rebels. Like, he and Grand Admiral Thrawn just, like, warp speed into God knows where, and they have to go out and find him. That's what their mission is going to be, is Sabine and Ahsoka trying to find Ezra. So there's kind of like there's an out for Ahsoka. They could just be like, oh, she's off trying to find Ezra. It's taking way too long. She can't find him. She has no idea what's going on back home, right? That's the easy out for her. I don't know what is the easy out for Cal Kestis. Like you said, they could just whack him like they did Saw Gerrera. He does have a relationship with Saw Gerrera, so we know he has developed a little relationship with the rebellion here in Jedi Fallen Order. So he's playing really close to this line. You can't just say he's, like, oblivious to everything that's going on. He clearly knows something's going on. Their rebellion's rising up, and the Empire is really bad, and they don't belong. Like, the rebellion or the Empire should not be around. Like, they're bad guys. They're the clear bad guys to Cal Kestis. So, they've walked this line, and I think they just have to resolve it. And I'm not quite sure how they're going to resolve it, other than, like you said, maybe they have to kill off Cal Kestis. They might not get much of a choice at this point.
Yeah, I mean, there are some key things that occurred during Jedi Fallen Order. For example, Cal Kestis is running around Kashyyyk with a lightsaber, just axing stormtroopers left, right, and center, and the Wookiees and Saw Gerrera are blatantly aware of this. And then they will, later on, are going to expect us all to believe that the rebellion wouldn't phone a friend in calling Cal Kestis before the Battle of Yavin and being like, hey, dude, you need to get in on this thing. This is the focal point of the rebellion right now. We need you. You are incredible, and you are a must at the Battle of Yavin. And we have to believe that that's not going to happen. They have to cover up why that didn't happen, because it didn't happen. So they're going to have to give us a good explanation, and maybe the answer is whacking him. Maybe the answer is doing the Ahsoka thing and giving him some wild goose chase to go off of. Maybe they do approach him. They ask him, Cal, you need to get in on this Battle of Yavin thing, and Cal says, no thanks, I've got bigger fish to fry here. I've got, I'm hunting, the next generation of Jedi that's being hunted down by the Empire, and I'm trying to save all the kids. Like that could be the more noble task that he's going on. But whatever it may be, I think it's imperative that Jedi Survivor make it perfectly clear the way that, for all of Rebels' pros and cons, it did make an effort to answer where Ahsoka was in the years between where we leave off with Ahsoka in the Clone Wars and where we arrive with Ahsoka in The Mandalorian. And I think it's imperative that Jedi Survivor does the same thing if they intend to have this character persist. However, there's always that easy out for them, which is just to kill the character. I mean, what do you guys think? Let us know in the comments down below whether you all think they're going to kill Cal, or whether they're going to have Cal go on some wild goose chase, and if so, what you think that wild goose chase is going to be. Nick, what do you think it's going to be?
Yeah, there are, I guess, one potential option that you could see them doing if they really wanted to work their way around him being in the original trilogy, which obviously is something they need to do, is he buddies up with Saw Gerrera. Saw Gerrera gets whacked in Rogue One before he is able to, be at the council and prepare for the Battle of Yavin. Saw Gerrera's not around, so maybe they just don't know about Cal Kestis. He just never shows up on anyone's radar. But, just knowing what we know about Cal Kestis' character at this point, he's not like the other Jedi that, that have gone into hiding, that are just trying to live their lives and survive. Clearly that is not what Cal Kestis is as a character. He wants to be involved. He wants to help people. He wants to save lives. That is his character arc so far in Fallen Orders. He wants to be the good guy. He wants to help save people. And it just doesn't seem like him to just sit this one out. So I'm very interested to see if there's a tonal shift in Jedi Survivor because it's been 5 years, that maybe he just doesn't feel that way anymore. He feels like people just don't deserve his help, or he's just tired of it. Or if they do indeed answer this question, and how they could do it is, I don't know, but I think this is by far the biggest question, the biggest mystery that Jedi Survivor has to tackle and has to deal with, because you gotta make these things all interconnect and just fit together. These stories have to be connected. They can't just be disjointed all over the place, and that just gets too messy. We gotta do a better job connecting all these stories together, and I think this goes to the gaming era. I think this Jedi game is going to be so important for Star Wars that it is imperative that they deal with this problem. And I'm very interested to see how Respawn tackles this problem. Now, of course, they could always just punt the football out if they plan on doing a third or fourth Jedi game. They could just not answer in this one, but we are creeping up pretty damn close to the Battle of Yavin and the start of the original trilogy, so time is of the essence here. It's time to answer and deal with this problem, and this is something I felt, and we both felt with Jedi Fallen Order, was this is such an interesting character in Cal Kestis. Man, I wonder what happened to him. What happens to him? And I think that is a question we all are feeling as Star Wars fans, and as Jedi Fallen Order and Jedi Survivor fans of this franchise, is really interested to see what happens to Cal Kestis. And that's usually, a question you feel about, the side characters in these games or stories or whatever, but the fact that is being asked of the main character of this franchise is really interesting to me. So I am incredibly intrigued to see how Respawn deals with this.
That said, guys, let us know what you all think Respawn does with this. Are they going to whack Cal Kestis? Honestly, I think they're going to rip our hearts out, and they're going to find some twisted way to kill him. I mean, come on, guys. Darth Vader knows he exists, and he's after Cal. So I think poor Cal, his days are numbered here. So Let us know if you think that's how he's going to go, or if he's going to go on some goose chase and he's going to end up in live action someday. It would be a perfect candidate for live action, given that we have the actor running around somewhere out there. So let us know in the comments down below what you think is going to happen. However, that's going to do it for this discussion. Thank you all so much for watching, and as always, we will see you all next time.